Hey everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back to Yarn Purpose. Today it's time for a coffee catch-up. Hey everyone, it's Jen Lucas. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Yarn Purpose. It is the last Friday of the month, so that means that it is time for a coffee catch-up. I have no coffee today because I desperately need to grocery shop, but that's okay. Maybe you have coffee or your other favorite beverage. And anyway, so that's not what you're here for, to hear about how I need groceries. You're here to see all the shawls and all the yarn and all the things that I'm working on. So anyway, let's just dive right in. The first thing that I want to show you, I showed you in the intro, is this new shawl pattern that I just have available this week. It is available on Ravelry. I, of course, will leave a link to it down below, and it is called Bombus. I think. I tend to name my shawls things that I don't necessarily know how to pronounce all the time. I don't know if that's good or bad. But I got the name Bombus because it's like one of the scientific terms for a bumblebee. You know, it's like the genus or the species or the something of the bumblebee. Anyway, so that's where I got the name from. But anyway, here it is. I used 2 skeins of Done Roving Yarns Frolicking Feet. I showed you the yarn in a previous video. The yellow here is the Colorway Retro, and then the gray is Timberwolf. So I used about 425 yards of the yellow and 475 of the gray, the Timberwolf. So anyway, it is a top-down crescent shawl. It's a pretty big shawl. I think it was something like 84 inches. The measurements, of course, are on Ravelry. But it's a super wide shawl, which means it's awesome because there's so many ways you can wear it. I really love this style of shawl these days. I keep saying it has everything that I love to knit. It has garter stitch, which is like, I just could knit garter stitch all the time. It has a chevron lace pattern. That's pretty simple. It has stripes, and then it has a knitted on edging, which if you've been following any of my patterns on Ravelry, you know I really love to do the knitted on borders. So that is Bombas. So that is the main thing that I have finished in the last month. Like I said, I will leave a link to the pattern down below. So now let's get into the things that I am currently working on. As far as work patterns go, I think I've talked about it a little bit here on my channel, but I do have a Patreon page that is always linked down below, and I'm doing exclusive patterns to Patreon this year. So if you remember my Patreon page for 2 months, then in the 3rd month you're going to get a pattern that is exclusive to Patreon for free. So I'm working on that. So if you remember my Patreon page, you've seen pictures of it on Patreon. So that is the main like shawl that I've been working on, but I have some other things that are not necessarily my, well, they're not my own patterns, that I've just kind of been working on the in-between. Sometimes it's nice to take a break from my knitting with knitting. I've talked about this before. Anyway, so I just thought I would show you. I've showed you these before, and I don't think I've made any more progress on them since the last time I showed them to you. But these are my sort of plain socks that I leave in my knitting bag when, you know, I go to knit night, and when I can't like work on a shawl anymore. These are the socks I like to pick up. The yarn is White Birch Fiber Arts, and the colorway is Nothing Says Screw You Like a Rainbow, which I just love. I talked about it before. I had wanted this yarn for so long, and I picked it up when I was in New York for Rhinebeck. White Birch Fiber Arts was at Indie Untangled, and I picked it up there. So I'm loving these socks. I'm hoping I'll be done with them pretty soon. I don't know, it's slow going, you know, when I have work projects to work on, but I just love these. This is going to be one of those things where like one weekend I'm going to say forget doing the work, and I'm just going to like knit these for the whole weekend and finish my pair of socks. So anyway, those are my socks. And then the other thing, I showed you the yarn last time, but I did start a wee little bit of the shawl, is the Mermaid Dreams shawl from Angela Tong. I showed you the yarn last time. I'll show it to you again. But here is the start of the shawl. I just love that border. That border just so pretty. Oh my gosh, so cute. So cute. So the yarn that I'm using, again, just to remind you, is this Miss Babs gradient set. It is a set of 6 yummy 2-ply toes yarn, and I have 800 yards. So the colors kind of go from, well, that super like pinky purpley that I have started, and then it kind of goes down to this like grayish green. So I'm really looking forward to working on that some more too, because again, this is very much everything I love, just like the Bombas Shawl. It's garter stitch. It has a fun border. This is like one of those things where once you get going on it, you can really just kind of memorize the pattern. And that's like, that ultimately is my favorite kind of knitting, is the knitting where you can like memorize the pattern and just like calmly knit and not have to think too much. So it's fun to work on some of these patterns like this. Like the border is just so pretty. It's just like, I'm loving everything about it. So those are sort of my non-work related projects that are on the needles right now. And then coming up, I did get some yarn for a work project. I just thought I would show it to you because it's so pretty, and I know you guys all want to see yarn too. So I have this yarn here from Stitch Sprouts. Heather Zappetti is the owner of Stitch Sprouts. She's super awesome. And so I'm going to be doing a shawl out of this. It is Stitch Sprouts Yellowstone. It is a sport weight yarn. The color on this one is Forest Fire. I don't know if I've ever knit with this specific colorway of Yellowstone. I use Yellowstone all the time for a bunch of different projects, but I am going to do this one and do a shawl. I will say with the Yellowstone, I have a tendency to get very itchy from wool, like especially when I'm wearing things like around my neck. It is why I tend to, when I'm choosing yarn for patterns, a lot of times I will choose sock yarns or fingering weight yarns that have the merino, cashmere, nylon blend in them, or have some kind of silk in them. I find like I just need that little bit of something else besides wool to sort of keep the itch factor down on my neck. The Yellowstone is, I believe, oh, it says right here, it's 80% wool, 20% silk. This yarn is not itchy to me at all. Now, I know like every person, it's going to be like individual if like the yarn's going to make you itch or not. But I'm just saying that if you're somebody who's like me, that wool can make you a little bit itchy, I recommend trying the Stitch Sprouts Yellowstone, which is the wool silk blend, because I wear some of my shawls all the time around my neck and it doesn't itch at all. It's awesome. So anyway, this will be a shawl sometime soon. So that is that. And then I have a few things that are sort of upcoming beyond that are like non-work related. The first thing is Vogue Knitting Live is coming back to the Chicagoland area. It's been gone for, I don't know, a year or two. And so I'm really excited. My friend Jenny and I are going to go and hit that up in March. So I'll leave a link to Vogue Knitting Live down below in case you're interested if you don't know anything about it. You know, it's sort of like, you know, many of these other knitting conventions. It's at a hotel. You could take classes. There's an awesome market. So we're just going to go down to the city for one day just to sort of check out the market, see what's new, see what kind of yarn we can buy, and little notions and things. So that should be fun. And then the other thing is I did just order yarn from Webs for a new project, which I hope I will have done for Rhinebeck in October. So I have currently a lot of time, but you never know. I have bought the yarn to make a Swoncho. I will leave a link to the pattern down below, of course. This pattern is by Caitlin Hunter, and it is sort of becoming one of those patterns that you're seeing more and more on Instagram. It's definitely like becoming a popular pattern to knit, at least in my Instagram feed. So some of my friends and I sort of decided we wanted to try to knit our own Swonchos for Rhinebeck. So there's the pattern there. Again, I will link it below. Here's another shot of it. So it's very much just like a very loose sweater that doesn't really have a lot of shaping to it. I might make mine longer. I ordered enough yarn to make it longer if I want to. So we'll see. I don't know. I just thought it was it just looks so fun to knit. It's what, you know, So I'm just going to go for it. I'm just making myself a Swoncho. So I'm sure that my video in the next week or two will be unboxing my Swoncho yarn from Webs. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm hoping maybe I can finish, you know, the Mermaid shawl and maybe the socks and then get to this. So we'll see. I typically only knit 0 to 1 sweaters a year. I just, you know, I've never been much of a sweater knitter. And they are a big commitment. I have always have this thing about I don't want to design sweaters because I'm so worried about them fitting that and I won't even knit my own sweaters out of other people's patterns hardly ever. So anyway, this Swoncho I feel is a good dive back into sweater knitting. It's been a while since I've made a sweater, or finished a sweater, I should say. So I feel like this is a good dive back into the occasional sweater knitting because I feel you don't have to worry so much about the fit with a Swoncho. So anyway, that's really it for me for today. So I hope that everybody has a great week. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it the thumbs up. If you want to see more videos from me, including that unboxing of my Webs order that'll be coming up in the next week or two, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. You can turn the notifications on if you want so that you'll be notified whenever you know, I upload a new video. And then finally, I talked a little bit about my Patreon page. If you are interested, there is a link to my Patreon page down below. If you are interested in seeing more of these face-to-face videos, I put them up there on Patreon, and also see some of the other stuff that I'm working on that I can't necessarily share on normal social media. So that's it for me for today. I hope that everybody has a good week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!